Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Dodger Wheelhouse podcast. I'm your host, Alistair Mac McMillan. I'm joined by my co-host, Harry Lebowski, and a special guest, Jacob Call. Jacob, how you doing?
Hello, how are you? I'm good.
It's good. It's good. I mean, all things considered, the news in the past couple of days hasn't been great. We lost Tommy Lasorda, right? After, a lifetime in the organization, literally.
Yeah,
right.
71 years, I think it was. And honestly, there's very few that we can say about Tommy Lasorda that hasn't already been said. But then again, there isn't enough we can say about him. He's really dedicated his life to the Dodger organization, and to that we're really thankful. And it was good to see. It was good to have him see us win again right before he passed.
I gotta wonder what they're gonna do with the chair, because I'm pretty sure he sat in the same chair every game, like every postseason game, every game he went to for 40 years.
They gotta take it out of the stadium.
No, just leave it.
No, they gotta leave it. They just
put
have
a
to
rope
put
around
plaque or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or honor it in some way.
Right. I think at Fenway there's a seat where I want to say Ted Williams hit a bajillion foot home run, and that chair is special or something. You can do it like that.
Yeah.
Granted, I don't know how you stop a drunk guy from sitting on it, but all things considered, you can do something of the sort. Anyway, so we have a little video tribute set to some sad piano music, as you do. So let's run that real quick. But really, I was thinking, just clips of Tommy hugging people and stuff. But if you don't put in the clips of him, yelling at umps and whatnot, is it really a tribute to Tommy?
Tommy is memorable for, he was Tommy Lasorda. He was very outspoken. He's very loud.
A boisterous uncle.
Yeah,
true Italian. A true Italian.
Absolutely. You can't not have him yelling at people, right? Obviously, we have the sad moments, right? But I mean, then you have to have the moments that you're gonna remember him for, which is screaming at everyone who can hear him.
At this clip where he's getting hit by a baseball bat at the All-Star game, if I remember correctly, Barry Bonds comes out like a chest protector.
You call Reggie out in second. You may get the guy. He's going to run it away.
Base paths. So, that's baseball for you, I guess.
You don't need a question.
Just holding the trophy here. Love to see it.
To reiterate what Peter and Fred said, for 2 years we suffered a great deal, and now the Dodgers are back on top. We are the world champs of baseball, and I'll tell you something, it is a great, great ball club. They never quit believing in themselves. They have to be an influence on everybody in the world, because it shows you what someone can do when he really wants something bad enough. Nobody believed that this team could finish first in the division. Nobody believed that we could beat the Mets. Nobody believed that we can beat the Athletics in 104 games.
You can't not talk about it.
I couldn't
Tommy
help but
Lasorda.
not. I couldn't help
you
but
can't
not
not.
put in UP.
He looks so sad. Wow. Kicked out of his home.
Yeah.
Oh, and of course Philly.
Yes, the fanatic.
You can't not have
You
the
can't not
fanatic.
put
The fanatic.
Again, it wouldn't be a Lasorda video, right?
It's fused with the mascots.
One of the most legendary moments in mascot history for sure.
That doll should be in the Hall of Fame. And I looked for there's a famous altercation with him and the famous chicken, but I couldn't find it anywhere. So I mean, there is one that's
Feel good, Tommy. I don't give a shit. You feel good. There's 4 motherfucking hits up there. You all fucking hit the opposite way. I don't give a fuck. Well, I may be wrong, but that's my goddamn job. I'll make the fucking decisions here.
That's a good throw for someone who's 91 then. That's a good throw.
That was a good throw.
Man, I gotta say that's legitimately a good throw. If I can throw like that at 90, I'm killing it. But he was a pitcher, so I don't know.
I feel like at a certain point, if you're just playing baseball long enough, like even well into like old age, right, you can just throw a baseball, right? He's been around baseball that long. I never doubted his ability to throw.
I don't know. Being around baseball doesn't magically give you like the arm of a 75-year-old man. Like he's.
That's fair.
But anyway, moving from there, we have so Jacob, you're a self-admitted baseball purist, right?
Yes, I mean not like in the crotchety old man, like we have to play it like it's 1925 way, but like generally I'm not a big fan of this like new analytical ridiculous approach to the game. Baseball is baseball, and so that's kind of how I look at it.
Okay, so that being said, we've thrown together a list of hot takes from crotchety old man baseball to analytics baseball, right? And we're gonna run them by you. Okay. And we want to see how you feel. Okay. So we're gonna start with the unwritten rules of baseball. The whole all that, old man, you can't, these kids you can't be stepping on the pitcher's mound, all of that. So let's start with swinging 3-0. Is that disrespectful?
No, it's not. I mean, it's baseball, and if a guy's gonna serve you up a fastball right down the middle 3-0, then you can swing at it. I mean, it's the unwritten rules. Hitting is hard enough as it is, and there shouldn't be some unwritten rule that makes it easier for the pitchers than it already is. So that one,
okay. That being said, the Tatis situation. Bases loaded. Up
let's
7,
run that clip. Let's run clip 1. Let's run clip 1.
Let's run clip 1. Are you, should you swing at this pitch? 10-3, top of the 8th, 1 out, bases loaded, 3-0 pitch. You're the hottest young hitter in baseball. Do you swing at that pitch?
So if it's me playing, I probably wouldn't, but I can't blame him for doing it. I mean, but the gripe that I do understand is that he went and, celebrated this as if it was, some kind of close big home run when you're already up 10-3 and you just put 4 more runs on the board, you can hit it.
He celebrated? I'm just seeing him.
He
just
didn't
jogging,
really.
He didn't
celebrate, but he took his. What I mean is that he took his sweet time getting around the bases, and I don't think he should have apologized. I think that he did what he did, and I think he played the way he plays. If it's me, I wouldn't have done it that way, but it's his game, so I don't hate him for that.
That brings up a question: are you obligated to kind of hustle around the bases after a home run?
Not always. Situationally, I mean, up 10-3, you don't, when you're Tatis and it's your second home run of the night and you're 11th on the year, and you're up 10-3, there's no reason to really, you don't need to soak it all up. Like there's nothing to soak up, especially when there's no fans in the seats. So, I don't hate it. But I don't love it. I don't think he should have apologized or done any of that stuff, but I can understand why somebody would have been a little bit upset.
I will say, like a Cabrera or a Pujols, like they don't need to hustle around the bases. Like let them take their time. You don't want them to gas out.
They're 100 years old. That's as fast as they can run. So,
and Pujols with a record trot around the bases this year, 3.5 minutes. That is his fastest time all season.
If he gets to first base running full speed in under 3.5 minutes, that would be a record for him.
I'm going to use this time as a reminder to myself to make a video about the theory that Pujols is like 3 to 4 years older than he actually is, because it's a wild one.
Oh, I know.
I like that.
I'll write that down.
Do you know that one, Harry?
I don't, but I want to hear about it.
Okay, really quickly before we go on, like there's a theory. Well, okay, this is true. So that his like decline is not proportional to his age. Like he's fallen off way harder for like dudes who are normally at his age. But if you like move the age ticker up like 2-3 years, it's like on curve. And then there's like something about, he's from wherever it is that he is, and he may have like said he was younger to give himself more of a shot at getting to the major leagues. It's wild. I don't know. It wouldn't be like the craziest thing. I mean, we had like a percussion system with trash cans that won a World Series. So I think you could lie about your age rather easily. But anyway, going forward, so Jacob, you don't like giving the pitchers an advantage, right? But how about letting the pitchers hit a batter who's getting on their nerves?
In what situation? I mean, it's the same type of thing. Like, if it's Madison Bumgarner getting mad that somebody just took him 490 feet and he wants to be upset because he sucks, then no. But generally speaking, I mean, the game has a way of policing itself, and that was one of the big things. You know, if you remember, that was a big problem with the whole Astros scandals. That Manfred came out and said you're not allowed to throw at the Astros, or you're going to be punished. And Joe Kelly didn't even hit anybody, and he got suspended 8 games. So
Jacob, because you said this, I'm getting word that Joe Kelly has been suspended an additional 8 games. So for that, we should probably move on. But yeah, I know what you mean, like letting the game police. But on the same hand, though, you know, like it's still a 100-mile-per-hour projectile. I can't speak. You know, like it hurts, right? And I do get not wanting, you know, dudes to get hit by, I mean, what amounts to like a large and slow bullet. Right.
I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where I can understand it from maybe an ownership perspective. You know, you're paying a lot of money to these guys and you don't want them to get hit, but it's just the way that the game is, and the game polices itself. And once you start getting, you know, we've seen firsthand how poorly the league manages these types of situations. And so the players, I think, do a better job of enforcing the rules themselves than giving it to some administrative guy that has no baseball experience whatsoever. So that's what I think about that.
I mean, if the players are fine with it at the end of the day, like, you know, what does it matter? Usually it's like take your lumps, but I guess that would change if a pitcher was just kind of hitting dudes willy-nilly, like Urania and Acuna.
Right. Well, I mean, you're not just chucking at guys' heads just because you feel like it. You know, it's not that type of thing. You generally have to have some kind of precedent for it. But if somebody gets out of line, then that's when they fight. And you know, these are grown men; they can handle their own beef. They don't need, you know, a mommy or daddy figure up in the front office to control what's going on the field.
So that in mind, with, you know, getting mad at batters, bat flips, right? Disrespectful, fun. Where do you stand?
I like bat flips. I think they're fun. I think it adds something to the game. I mean, if you hit a bomb, you hit a bomb, and you can. I mean, obviously, like if you're up by 20, you don't need to be rubbing it in any more than it already is. But if you hit a home run in a big situation and you want to take it in, then, you know, more power to you.
I think this is the best opportunity to play clip 2, which I'm sure that you're probably anticipating in some way already.
I mean, what if you're talking bat flips? There's really only one bat flip you can talk about.
The bat flip.
The bat flip.
They need to put a statue of this.
They really
outside
should.
The new stadium. They are doing a new stadium, right?
I don't know if they're doing a new stadium.
I mean, I don't know.
Maybe.
I want to stay at that hotel, but that just sounds kind of cool. Like watching a baseball game in like a robe with room service.
Yeah, that would be cool. But so this bat flip specifically. So the Bautista bat flip, this is one of my favorite moments in baseball history, honestly. And this was kind of, in a sense, Bautista's way of policing the game himself. Because, I mean, if you remember in the previous inning, there was a whole, you know, big deal with the ball hitting Shin-Soo-Choo's bat, and they scored a run, and there was all this weird stuff. The game was under protest. And this was a huge moment, you know, tie game in Game 5 of the Division Series, winner take all. This is a huge moment with the fans amped up, and he kind of showed the Rangers, like, you don't get to mess with us. Like, I'm policing you. I'm showing you that I'm not going to take, you know, your BS. And so I think this was a good moment.
Well, then the Rangers policed him. Pretty
yes.
well.
Yes, they did.
and that was another good moment. That was, I think, justified as well. You know, that's just how it goes. And then they got even, and I think now it's pretty much over. Well, Bautista's out of the league, so it's definitely over.
That whole
and Odor's like functionally out of the league at this point.
Yeah.
So
that whole series between the Blue Jays and the Rangers was one of the better series I've seen in the postseason baseball. Like, just actively watching the series, it was like really fun to watch in general, especially watching it all unfold like after the fact in the following season. Watching Jose Bautista get clocked was probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
It also just feels like random beef. Like generally, you know, like geographic rivalries and like I get it, right. But like Toronto and Arlington, Texas, just
definitely strange. But
it's a weird vibe.
It is. something you wouldn't expect to see and hear about often.
So, okay, let's go. So you're admittedly like somewhat pro batter, right? In some capacity,
Yes.
right? Not being a pitcher, right? At
Right.
least by trade. So how do you feel about bunting to end a no-no?
Okay, that's bush league. That's messed up. You can't do that. That's super messed up. I mean, look, I understand taking any advantage you get, but the reality of it is you have a window when a pitcher hasn't given up a hit that you can bunt and it's fine. And that should be the 4th or the 5th inning. You know, it's
first
not
like 3
right.
to 4
It's
innings,
not really
right?
official thing, but you guys are obviously struggling to figure your timing out against this guy. So if you want to get a hit to get something going early in the game, then great. But you can't miss your window and then get beat by the pitcher for your first 2 or 3 at bats, you know, depending on how well he's pitching. And then in the 8th inning, be like, oh, now it's time for me to just put a bunt down and try and take it away from him. Because he's already beat you. And now you have to beat him back. He's established what he's done, and you have to establish yourself in return. So you have a window, and if you miss the window, then
I will say, like in a Dodgers Pirates Rich Hill like tie game no hitter situation, I can almost kind of get it because like it's a tie game.
I mean, obviously the most important thing is to win.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can still win the game, then fine. But I mean, if you're down by 4 or 5 in the 8th or 9th inning, I mean, you're not putting a bunt down, especially if you wouldn't do it normally.
Yeah, I feel like if like characteristically you would normally put a bunt down in this situation, right? Like, you know,
if you're D Gordon,
in the league,
maybe.
Right? Yeah, you're D Gordon, right? So if you're a faster guy in the league, maybe. But personally, I also don't see bunting dead. I think that's just a cardinal sin.
Yeah. Okay. So here's sort of my one thing, right, with bunting to end a no hitter, is like personally the reason I don't get it is if I'm batting 9th, right, 26 outs, right, like no perfect game, something going on, I'm just gonna go up there and just swing and just take the lumps and leave because my teammates are gonna be like, oh man, you gotta let us down. Like, nah, 26 of y'all letting me down before. right? Like perfect games only happen so often, right? No hitters only happen so often. I like what I strike out one more time. I probably struck out 2 times more on that day, right? Fans are happy, pitchers happy. Y'all are mad at me because I phoned it in when y'all gave up in the 3rd inning. No, I'm going up there and I'm taking 3 hacks at the dirt, playing with my shoelaces.
Kicking the dirt at the batter's box, trying to figure out what you're going to have for dinner later.
Ooh, do you hustle out? If you hit a ground ball at the end of no hitter, do you hustle down to first?
Yes.
Do you all the way?
Yes. Well, okay. So in the major leagues, half the guys jog it out anyway. So I just say run how you normally would run to first base, but you don't want to just give it to the guy. I mean, if you hit a ground ball, you still want them to make the play because in a perfect game, it's just such a defensive accomplishment as it is a pitching accomplishment. You make it through the whole game, you make every play. And so that's kind of a full team thing. And that's why it's so much more rare. I mean, even in Kershaw's no-hitter that he threw a few years ago, it would have been a perfect game if Hanley Ramirez hadn't thrown the ball away in like the 8th inning or whatever it was. And so you run it out because you don't want it to take it away from the guy. In a regular no-hitter, I mean, maybe you jog it out, just get the guy.
Okay. The reason I think I say that too is I'm kind of burned from that. I'm blanking on the pitcher, but the Detroit Tigers one, where like Miggy caught the ball, and then the umpire just like randomly was like, "Dude, safe," and then
it was Galarraga. Like
that's the one. That's the one.
Jim Joyce messed up the call.
Yeah. There we go. I always I'm mentally scarred from like watching that. Like I couldn't imagine being the batter. Like I'm jogging out, like I know I'm, like dude had a great game. I'm like, okay, cool. Then the ump just like calls me safe. I would feel bad about that for like the rest of my life.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, that's a good thing about replay is that something like that can't happen anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And to go back to sort of the bunting thing, I don't think we've seen a bunt to end a no-hitter in recent times, but what I do remember was when Max Scherzer was throwing his perfect game. I forget against who it was, but he hit a guy in like the 8th or 9th inning. And it was like not really a pitch that was going to hit him, but he kind of did like, the lean in thing a little bit and got hit. And that's a similar thing. If the guy is throwing a perfect game against you you shouldn't be trying to get some cheap way on base. Like, you're trying to save yourself from embarrassment just as much as you're trying to get your team, in the hit column. So you shouldn't be, doing some weird stuff to try and get yourself on base. You should be trying to say to this guy, like, look, you may have been able to beat us here, but I'm going to beat you now,
So what I can say is a quick Google search. There's a small YouTube compilation of bunts ending no-hitters. So that's kind of dirty. But
Put 'em on blast.
okay. I guess part of it too is like, if it was the Giants and Bumgarner was no-hitting the Dodgers, I'm bunting all day, right? But that's that's spite, right? Like, I understand that it's a Bush League move. Now, home runs breaking no-hitters is also just beautiful in and of itself.
Oh yeah, because it breaks up the no-hitter and the shutout.
Mm-hmm.
And then you still lose like 7-1, but you had that little last.
It was a no until the bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, and then this guy went yard, and then that was it.
I mean, yeah, but honestly, no hitter, ninth batter. I'm going up like Wiley Adames at the end of the World Series. I'm just swinging. I'm just taking hacks. Drop the bat. Oops. It's fine. I don't really mind. Like, worst case scenario, what? Like, I'm more embarrassed than I was before. Oh no.
I mean, yeah.
People have bad at bats sometimes, when the media comes up to you and says, why did you swing at all those pitches? You're like, I don't even know. He's throwing a good game.
He was throwing all those strikes, so I figured the balls might be strikes too. It was crazy. I didn't see anything.
It just got so confusing. I couldn't tell which was which.
My manager gave me the take sign, but I thought it was a swing sign. It was on me.
It was so confusing. I confused the strike zone and not the strike zone. I thought it was all the strike zone. I was so confused.
So, speaking of managers, is a manager obligated to get ejected for a player?
Is he obligated to?
So okay, let me explain. So, like, I know you go out there, you scream at the ump, you try to like get them to eject you instead of the player. But like, sometimes dudes get ejected and then the manager comes out and just feels like obliged to scream at the ump and get himself ejected. Like, I feel like nothing is being accomplished.
So, I mean, I guess in the technical semantic sense, like, not really obligated to, but as a fan, I want him to, just because ejections are awesome.
Ejections are a lot of fun.
But you can't. They don't let you hear it anymore, right? Like, they bleep it out, and there's like a delay. I think like baseball is one of the few sports where you can have 5 to 6 minutes of R-rated content in the middle of a game and have it be fine. But for whatever reason, right, the FCC doesn't let me see. I don't know what's that horrible manager, Jace Tingler. Right, screaming at I have beef with Jay Stingler. If Jay Stingler, if you see this, we have beef. I'm just gonna say, I'm still mad over the Tatis thing. But no, so like, okay, let's say Harry is a player, you're an umpire, right? You eject Harry for some stupid reason, like, have you seen I know Rendon, like, one time, because he doesn't say anything, right? But he took a strike he didn't like. He was just kind of like, man, and like shrugged his shoulders, and then the ump ejected him, right? It's something ridiculous like that, And then I go out there, like, what am I doing? Harry's gone, he's ejected, right? The fans can't hear me, right? I could just go out there and be like, look, let's just pretend I'm yelling at you, it's fine. I'm not really mad at you. Like, I get it. He's being rude. Just like, leave me in the game. Like, there's no need, right? There's no need to go out there and just get ejected and screw up the rest of your game plan. The bench coach who's been like just chewing sunflower seeds and looking at the hot girl in the stands, right, has to manage the game now.
Give the guy a chance, see what he can do. He's looking for a job in the offseason. I don't know. I like it. I like when the managers go out and get ejected, in a purely, semantic sense, like, not obligated to, but I mean, it is a way of earning respect, because generally your teammates aren't going to feel like your ejection was justified. There's very few instances where people will do that and then their teammates will go and say, oh yeah, he deserved it. So it'll earn you some clubhouse respect if you are looking for that sort of thing. But I don't know. As a fan, I just think it's really cool. So I just like to watch it.
Okay. So unjustified ejection, we're definitely like, yeah, go get ejected, like, support your guys. If dude's just being rude, like, he's just the worst. He's throwing his helmet,
I mean, if he's doing the David Ortiz thing and going in and smashing the bullpen phone and he gets kicked out, then you just let him go, there's no big deal.
I gotta say, we need like an ump to ump the umps because they're getting out of hand. Like they're straight
Umpires
out of
need-
pockets with these ejections. Like there's one I remember like from last year, I think, or like no, not last year, that was a mini season, but like 2019, where the Yankees are like chilling in the dugout, then someone maybe says something, but like no one heard it. The ump's just like, you're ejected. He's just pointing at the dugout, and then they're like, oh well, who's ejecting? He's like, I don't know, Brett Gardner, and then Brett Gardner's like, oh, what did
He's
you?
like,
And,
He's like, I didn't even say anything.
I think it's that these old time umpires are kind of having ejection withdrawals because now replay took away like 95% of the ejection worthy arguments. So they just sometimes are like, I need to eject somebody. I haven't done it all year, and so they just are like, I don't like that guy. Get him out of here.
I mean, especially with camera angles too, because you can't really lie anymore. Like if you were an umpire back in like 1923, right? Dude walks up to the plate, you're rejected, and the guy like, what? It's like he said a curse word to me. Now they're gonna like look, the lip read,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Umpire's like a power trip, I guess. Really.
I'm sure it is. It's a bunch of guys that have never been much of anything, I'm sure, in their lives, and all of a sudden they get to.
Wow. Okay, we're getting some umpire. The
I hate
umpires
umpires.
catching strays.
Well, umpires suck. Everybody hates them. If you're a baseball player and you don't hate umpires, then you're not a baseball player. You don't
Okay,
deserve to
I
be
gotta say though, like I've had I've caught occasionally, right? So I'll have a little relationship with umpires, and there are some umpires that have given me some great moments. I want to, like I remember we were playing in high school. We had a player take a fastball like off the butt, and the umpire thought it sounded like wood and called it a foul ball. Like, how can you hate umpires after that? Right? That's amazing.
And he's like, what are you talking about? I got hit.
Okay, so that's embarrassingly bad. I mean, I've definitely had some pretty terrible umpire moments. I mean, and it's like, as a hitter, it generally doesn't seem to go my way, but there have definitely been a couple of times where I stood up there not ready to hit, and it was 0-2, and a guy throws me a fastball right down the middle, and I'm walking out back to the dugout, and the umpire calls it a ball, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, you do not deserve your job. Like, that was the worst call I've ever seen in my life. And, I've had umpires in high school, not like little league umpires. I've had high school umpires call pitches that bounce in front of the plate as strikes.
I've seen videos from like our high school league, right, where a ball will bounce like on the other side of the plate, and the catcher literally has to pick it away, and it's a strike, and the batter didn't even swing, and it was like the most ridiculous call I've ever seen in my life.
Okay,
it's
but wait,
terrible.
hold up now. In the defense of an umpire, I've definitely been catching, and like either we're killing the team, right, or we're getting killed. Like either of those situations where I'm just talking to him, he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna call it a strike. Like it's hot, it's Southern California. I'm in these pads, you're in these pads. Like let's just go. Like if you're catching, like you have a little rapport with the ump. You just talk about like whatever's going on. It's fine. I don't hate young umps. Young umps are really, really fun. Old umps, they're the worst. I'm gonna be honest. They're the worst.
I mean, I'm sure if you're a catcher, you have some rapport with the umpires, but the thing is, I've never been a catcher. I'm always the guy that stands up the middle and sees, strike 1, 2, and 3 all get called balls, and then we lose the game by 1 run because this guy ended up walking when he should have struck out. That's what I see. So, I just, I have a lot of umpire hate, and I think that's just the status quo as a baseball player. I think, like I said, I think if you're a baseball player and you are like the umpire, I mean, with exceptions, it's definitely not a monolith, but
it's a little weird. I'll admit it. It's a little weird.
If you like the umpire, you're definitely a
Speaking of
person.
umps, is why I did this way. Going to like game construction hot takes, robo umps, yes or no?
No.
Oh, come on! Oh, I'm
No.
so excited. What do you mean?
I don't like robo umps. I don't know. So this is where I'm going to contradict myself. I'm totally going to contradict myself here because I hate umpires and I think they suck. But I just I don't know. I just there's something unsettling to me about robo umps, and I mean, I'm not going to get into it on a baseball podcast, but I have some. It might be related to my other feelings about AI and robots in general. So,
I mean, what better place to get into those thoughts than on a baseball podcast?
Terminator, Skynet.
So
umpires.
basically, I'm gonna make myself sound like a total conspiracy theorist, but I am 100% convinced that AI is eventually going to kill us all. And I don't like robots, and they freak me out. And
Okay, let's just be clear. A robo ump is just a strike. It's not like an ump. With,
I don't care.
He's
I
saying,
know- I know
he's
it's not a
saying,
person. I know
he's
it's
saying
not a
that's
person.
where it starts.
I know
It
it's not a
starts
person.
with that.
I know it's not a person. I understand it's not a person, and I know it's not like a person robot guy that's gonna like rip the catcher's head off behind the plate.
Strike.
But I don't know. And that's not why I don't like it.
Ball.
For me it's just for me it's just one of those things that I don't like it. I don't even like that. I don't even like that ESPN puts the K zone on TV. It drives me crazy. It's like I can see where the
Really?
plate is. Like I don't need the damn box.
No,
there.
see, here's the thing.
Honestly,
like,
I
if
kind of
I'm-
like it.
If I'm
Because
watching with,
people are
like,
tall
my mom.
sometimes.
Well, if I'm watching with my mom, right? And like we're arguing about a strike call, at least having the K zone gives like a frame of the argument. Like otherwise you're just screaming, it was at his knees. No, it wasn't. His knees are here. Like the K zone is necessary for fans. Like we're done.
I don't know.
As a
I like
breed.
arguing. I like arguing.
Well, yeah, but at least there's like a frame for the argument. Otherwise, you're just arbitrarily deciding where you think Aaron Judge's knees are, right? Because he's like
That's
12
baseball,
feet
man.
tall.
That's baseball. That's how you enjoy the game. This is just how it is.
I
Look,
just like the
this-
idea of saying his knees are down there. It's like, no, they're way up there. You're absolutely wrong.
This is where I'm gonna take my crotchety old man take. Okay, I don't want baseball to be civil. I want people to argue. I want people to get mad. I want people to make mistakes, and I want people to like scream at each other. I like the hyper testosterone aspect of sports, and so I don't want some robot to take everybody's fun away.
Well, for
It's
one,
fun me.
baseball's like not the hyper testosterone sport.
I
Like,
know.
it
That's what I'm
is.
saying. It's lacking in many other aspects, so we need to make up for it where
Okay,
we
but
can.
if you remove robo umps, dudes get less heated, and then Chris Archer doesn't get trampled. Like there are some benefits.
We
to
skipped
the-
over the entire fight section.
Well, no, we're gonna get there, but we
Okay,
don't
we're
have
gonna
the
get
clip
there.
of Chris Archer getting. And Chris
We
Archer
don't
got
have the-
trampled.
we
I
don't
felt
have that
so
clip.
bad for him,
So,
right?
I mean, I don't know, but I like fights. I like that part of the game.
I'm a huge boxing fan, right? I'm a huge boxing fan. It's just like I don't mind separating. It's like hockey, when they're like, "Oh, hockey is great. They have fights." Like, no, it's a bunch of guys who are like paid to move a puck around a rink, also getting mad at each other and fighting on ice skates, and they look ridiculous.
They
It's like
slip
I
and
don't
slide
mind
on ice
separating
skates.
the two, but we'll get into the fight section in a second.
Okay.
But speaking of crotchety old man take, let's this will give you one turf fields.
turf fields. As a
No.
player, I like turf fields.
What? It's so painful. All those little nubs,
Oh, they're
and
terrible.
it's like hot.
And the hot and the bounces that you
And they
get
get
on a turf
everywhere.
field are just like
They're everywhere in my cleats, in my hair, like inexplicably, in my glasses.
I don't necessarily like the things, but like it's what I like as a player. So maybe in the major leagues, they should definitely have grass and dirt because they can take care of it so well. But at the lower levels, I think the turf fields are definitely fine because firstly, that means I don't have to do any field work, which is always nice. And then,
except for the dirt.
well, the mounds and the plate, but the catchers and the pitchers can handle that. That's none of my business. But anyway, I don't know. I like how turf infields play. I guess but it's personal preference.
Wow.
I
don't think I've ever heard that before.
I didn't expect
This
that. I'm
is a
gonna be
new one.
honest.
I like how they play. I mean, because I like that the hops are consistent, and I like that I can kind of make the play how I want to. You have a little bit more flexibility as far as options, I think, because you know what hop it's going to take. You don't have to go full fundamental all the time. But in the major leagues, definitely they should just be having grass and dirt. Because firstly, those guys are hitting the ball hard. And when you have a guy hitting the ball 125 miles an hour at you, I definitely don't want the turf to accelerate that after the first bounce. But at the lower levels, I think that turf fields are fun.
This just in: Justin Turner is down and out after taking 145 mile per hour line drive.
Yeah, that would be deadly. That would
Yeah.
be like, I mean, I remember there was a game that I went to. It was Stanton was still on the Marlins, so it had to have been a few years ago. But Chase
That
Utley
was what 2017, 2016.
something like that, yeah. And so Chase Utley was playing second base, and Stanton literally hit an 120 mile an hour short hop ground ball at him, and he didn't make the play, obviously, but he actually like stayed in there and tried to make it. And I was thinking, like, if somebody hit a ball that hard at me, I would have been diving in the opposite direction.
That's why
I would have stood up and just let it go by.
Yeah, play
you guys
outfield.
feel that. You feel that. That's
Right.
not
like
on me.
worst thing that happens to you as an outfielder is you like accidentally grow up a fan like JD Martinez, or I don't know, someone throws a beer at you. You know, I don't want guys like Stanton, Judge, or like, you know, some like physical monster like Puig just mashing line drives at me. Like, I'm good.
I'll pass.
I'm good. You know, and like, you know, catching, now that they've removed the ability to just, you know, obliterate Buster Posey, you know, why not just any other position?
which another thing, that is the dumbest rule in the history of sports.
I
okay?
agree.
You should
I
be
very
able-
much enjoy trucking catchers.
You should be able to bulldoze the catcher. If the guy wants to get in your way, you should be able to bulldoze
Be
him.
bigger. Get a
Right.
bigger catcher.
And the fact that they changed the rule because Buster Posey was too stupid to know how to block the plate. I mean, come on. They changed the entire rule, and it was the same thing. It was the same thing with the Chase Utley rule, with the sliding rule. If you're a shortstop worth anything, you know you probably shouldn't be turning your back to the full-grown man sliding into your leg. And that's what Ruben Tejada did. He went and decided to try to do his spinning around fancy thing, and then he got his leg broken. And now we're
Okay,
not allowed to.
We
take
do need
people
to
out
move
anymore.
forward because we actually have quite a few hot takes.
We do.
And we don't
Okay.
want to.
Okay, but I could go on and on about those.
Okay,
for sure.
because I know this one's going to piss you off.
Okay.
On-field interviews.
On-field interviews.
Let's
Like
play
dur-
clip 6.
Yeah, those ones. Like the ones they did
Yeah.
for the A's
Oh,
during. Wasn't that during the
Jesus Christ.
playoffs? I think
It was
a playoff
during
game.
the playoffs. Yeah.
That was against the White Sox, right?
Yeah. Let's run clip 6 here real quick. This is a spring training game.
It's okay. I'm like
Spring training.
They're gonna
It's
take
being
it.
acted in. But this
Well,
has
I've
also
seen this. I've
happened
seen
in.
this.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
crazy. Well,
I
I
know
am
this.
a little bit. Say hi to Jeff.
I
So
love this clip so much.
yeah, we can just.
Yeah, Mr. Nelson.
It's oh my god, it's so
funny.
I didn't want to keep the entire clip because it's like a 3-minute clip, so I kind of just kept the.
Oh my god.
Get down. Dang it. Foul.
No, see, the reason I love this
What
clip
was
though
that?
is because that's exactly how I'd play off a foul ball. You know, it's like you're running.
Now I'm tired.
No, stay fit. Oh. Like I don't even care that I just don't want to go back.
Then he's like, now
The
I'm
first time
tired.
swing at the first pitch.
Because
I'll
you gotta
swing.
pick up your bat, you gotta fix your gloves, you gotta look at the pitcher again. He knows you just hit off him. It's a whole thing. It's not worth it.
Well, it's almost always, you know, when you miss your double by 2 steps, like you almost always end up striking out or something. Like you miss your pitch, you're not going to get another one.
Okay, so what I think we should do, we'll cover the really good ones, but I think we'll have a little rapid fire section at one
Okay.
point to make sure we get through these. But this is one we can't skip forward through. DH in the NL.
Okay, so personally, I'm not a huge fan, but I understand why they would do it.
I love
You know,
it.
like I understand I understand why they would do it, and I kind of like. I don't think it's gonna hurt the game too much, you know, to have a DH in the NL. So I'm not like I said, I don't hate it, but I kind of it's as a fan, you know, personally, I enjoy watching pitchers, you know, embarrass themselves trying to hit.
because one time Bartolo Colon hits a home run and we forget the 2,000 times he
But
went
that's-
up there.
But I loved all the times that he
those-
struck out
but-
too. That was my favorite part.
But those moments are fantastic, and then you get the moments like the big situations where pitchers come up with like big hits, right? Like I think 2016
Brandon Woodruff against the Dodgers when he went yard off Kershaw, because that was fun.
In the
I mean, like,
playoffs, yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that.
I
I
know
mean-
CS.
I wasn't talking about. I was going to talk about like the wild card in 2016 between the Rockies and Diamondbacks when Archie Bradley hit like the clutchest triple of his career.
Look, so here's
Probably
my
the
thing.
only triple as well.
Here's my thing, right? It's like pitchers suck at hitting, right? They're terrible. And 90 times out of 100, it's like, oh, the pitcher's coming up. All the infielders get to sit down and have a nice nap, right? The outfielders all go play a hacky sack. You know, the pitcher and the catcher just like throwing ephyses, right? And then so like, okay, Zach Greinke is like a double-A level hitter. So we got to let Zach Greinke hit. It's like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't hate it. I like it was fine this year. It didn't really affect that much. I mean, it definitely and it gives the offense a little bit of an advantage compared to how they had it before. But like I said, I mean, I like watching pitchers hit, but it's not I don't hate it. I mean, I probably wouldn't change it if I were in charge, but if they change it, it's not like it's gonna,
Well, it also
ruin
gives the AL a huge advantage, right, in the World Series, because you have a dedicated guy who's just like, I'm gonna hit the ball, right?
Yeah,
Whereas in the NL, you have to have decent players all around, and then when you get to the World Series, they have this hulked out, roided up monster, and you've got Kike Hernandez, and I love Kike, right? But he's not that guy, he's not like a giant muscle bound Barry Bonds level,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I get it. I understand why. If it were me, I probably wouldn't change it, but I'm not gonna, throw a tantrum if the league decides to make it permanent. So
I also just, you get vets playing longer, and like, I'm a miss these guys. Like, I don't want to see Miggy retire. Like, stick Miggy on the Diamondbacks. Give him a bat. He doesn't really have to run. He just hits the ball. It's wonderful.
I
Right?
mean, the one place where I do like it is as far as like guys coming back from injury, because you can get a guy back in the lineup a little bit sooner, and you can get him major league reps before he's really ready to fully play defense and everything. So I do like it from that perspective, but like, it's just one of those things where it's like, for me, like it's been a certain way for so long, like I probably wouldn't change it, but I wouldn't, be that upset if they decided to.
Okay, so let's rapid fire a couple of these, because I got a couple takes that I think are going to have a bit of a heated reaction, I think.
Okay.
If I've gotten the read right. Okay, real quick. Pitch clocks, yes or no?
Yes, but not like 4 seconds. Like, I mean,
Like 12.
Yeah,
15.
but yeah, because some guys take way too long.
Okay, pitchers using pine tar for grip. It's happening. It's an open secret. Players seem to be fine with it.
I mean, if it is the way it is, and if they do it, then they do it. If they get caught, just don't get caught. I mean, that's kind of, if you get caught, then you should be in trouble. But if you don't get caught, then whatever.
Like, should they look for it though? Like, should the umpires like?
No, they shouldn't be actively looking for it. It should be the same way that it is now. If the other manager has some kind of issue with the other team and they decide to call it out, which is generally the way they do it, it's kind of another unwritten rule enforcement. If somebody does something messed up and then they're like, well, you have pine tar, and then they get them in trouble. So I think the way that it is right now is fine.
Okay, that's fair. So as far as like the on-field product, jewelry on the field, like your chains and your whatnot.
You can wear whatever you want.
Don't care. All right, mascots, yes or no?
Specific ones. I mean,
like Philly Fanatic, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be interesting, and there has to have been a history. You can't just like randomly start adding mascots places. But if like Philly Fanatic or Orbit or the ones that have been there for a while, like I don't care.
Like the Diamondbacks have like a bobcat,
which is dumb.
Yeah,
because
kids are scared of snakes. I mean, I get it, but like
it's dumb. I mean, the Fanatic is like a famous one. Orbit is a famous one. So you have a couple that are like there, but I don't think they should be adding.
You can't get rid of Mr. Met or Mr. Met's murderous cousin, Mr. Redlegs, right? Who gives me nightmares. Right?
Yeah, I mean, and it adds to the fan experience. When I go to the game, like I don't need any of that extra stuff, but like I understand that it's a business. I'm not going to be.
Yeah. Okay. That's a reason to take.
Yeah, I'm not going to close my eyes to the reality of the sport, So, but for me, I don't need it. But if it adds to the fan experience, then that's fine with me.
All right, bullpen carts.
Bullpen carts, like the guys driving.
Watch clip 7. Watch clip 7.
Clip 7. Okay, I haven't seen this.
We're gonna run clip 7.
Are you kidding me? Okay, this is embarrassing. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. This is so stupid. This is gonna make me cry. This is hurting my eyes.
Okay, I will say that I was so tempted to leave the call in here because it's the funniest thing ever. But I had to take it out because we're gonna get copyright struck if we kept it in. But it's so funny because the announcer's like, "This is history in the making. This is the first time any bullpen pitcher has used the cart." And I'm thinking, why would you want to use the bullpen cart?
Okay,
this is embarrassing. I mean, this is embarrassing. If you need to use the cart, this is like the fat people at Walmart that use the scooter to get around because they're too lazy to walk. This is embarrassing. These are professional athletes in the prime of their life. You can run 150 feet to the pitcher's mound. You don't need somebody to drive you. I mean, come on. You get chauffeured everywhere. You're worth how many millions of dollars, and now you're going to take advantage of? I'm Mr. Astros relief pitcher that nobody's heard of in my life, and I'm going to take the special cart treatment to get out to the field. At that point, why don't we just have every player have a special taxi to take them to their positions in between innings? It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
I'm
in my
almost
life.
scared to say what I was about to say.
This is the dumbest
Which
thing I've ever
is
seen.
the reason I like bullpen carts is I have this, back of my mind, like hope that in a really heated baseball brawl, someone's going to drive the bullpen cart into the opposing manager.
Okay, that would be funny. That would be funny. If somebody did that, that would be funny. But there's no justification for a professional athlete that's 24 years old to be driven to the pitcher's mound. It's not like you're running a mile and a half from, some building 3 blocks away. Like you're literally 200 feet away from the pitcher's mound.
Oh, I'm now seeing what Harry meant when he said I was skipping over the section of the fight section. I thought he meant I was going a little too far. I literally skipped the whole section of hot takes.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to go quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are catchers obligated to protect pitchers?
Yes.
Even if they're being a jerk like Hunter Strickland.
Yeah. Okay. So let's run clip 3.
Okay.
It's fine. It's fine. We don't need to. Is it funny? Is it like actually what I thought it was?
Well, he
Posey's
literally
like-
stands there.
Okay. Never mind. I love this. What clip is this?
Clip 3.
Okay, I know the one.
This,
Okay,
this is also just for the episode too. So he literally. So obviously Bryce Harper gets hit here, and then you can.
This
talk
is a
over the clip.
multi-year beef. Like Strickland's been bad for like 2
So
years.
I know.
or
I mean,
something.
I know the history of what happened here.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
you can see Buster Posey doesn't do
just
anything,
He doesn't
come
do
on,
anything.
man.
and then they start throwing hands, and he comes in.
okay, so, okay, so in this knowing the situation specifically, like I can understand why Buster Posey wouldn't want to do it. The way that he went about doing that, I think, is still wrong. I think like he could have done, he could have gone and I mean, obviously Bryce Harper isn't going to turn around and whack Buster Posey when he's pissed off at Hunter Strickland. So like, if Buster Posey goes out and says like, "Oh, stop," and then he's like, "Oh, he pushed me out of the way," at least make it look like you're trying. But I mean, I know the history. I know that Hunter Strickland had been salty about giving up a home run for like 3 seasons and drilled him for no reason. Like, so I know in that situation, Buster Posey doesn't. I know he doesn't want to get himself clocked, but I mean,
he's also
there
like
"Oh."
catchers are like the knights of baseball brawls. Like they're coming in strapped. So if anything, maybe just because you're like, what's he gonna do? Punch you? But okay, going further because we gotta speed through this. Is the bullpen obligated to like sprint out to a fight?
Are they obligated to? I don't know. I don't think
It's a bit
bullpen-
ridiculous, isn't it?
I don't think relief pitchers are really good for anything. So like you don't need them. You don't need them to come out there. I mean, a lot of them are weirdos anyway. So like they're probably not going to fight. They're just, and by the time they get there, most of the time the worst of it's over. So I mean, they have to come out, but they don't have to be like freaking like.
I think the best thing in the world is when they both bullpens come out and just decide to like run at each other like in the middle of the outfield and like scrap out there. So you have like those 2 little mini fights happening.
Yeah, I mean,
it's fun. It's stupid and it looks ridiculous, right? But okay,
I'm sorry to relief pitchers, by the way. I'm probably offending, I'm offending like half the people on the field right now, but it's all in good fun. I love all my teammates and I love everybody on the field, but we have to have obligatory fun at each other.
There is a
40
minutes
minutes
on
of attacking relief pitchers, and it's like, okay, well, hey, I love you. Okay,
well, we have to. I mean, you have to. When you're on the field, everybody, you have to. Everybody has their own group. You have to,
really quickly, are you like, okay, let's say you can brawl, right? You can really scrap. Are you supposed, like, if you can really fight, are you sort of like, you shouldn't actually like beat up your opponent? Like, I'm Chan-Ho Park, like pulling that pulling the kick like in the middle of the Harry, we're running out of time. We got to save time.
This is for the episode.
Oh my God.
Talking about it.
Well,
this
whatever.
Is for the
See,
people that haven't
this is
seen
why
it.
you don't get to do clock management. All right. So, okay. Now going back to game construction, or I guess it's on-field product more, because this is actually why we're doing this episode. Is Harry told me that you had issue when I said closers are unnecessary.
I did. I had an issue with
I
that.
think closers are ridiculous because it's like, oh, okay, 4th inning or 5th inning, right? Tie ball game, bases loaded, right? You have 1 out. You got the best closer in the game sitting in there, but you decide to throw out, Johnny mediocre fastball, right? Then lo and behold, you give up 6 runs. Now you're sitting, twiddling your thumbs in the 9th, right? You're like, man, using the closer would have been really good back in the 5th inning, but hey, I mean, maybe we could have used him now if this game was still close. That could have been nice, maybe hypothetically.
I just if your starting pitcher sucks that bad that he's getting himself yanked out of the game in the third inning, then you shouldn't be using your closer because the game is already lost. I mean, your closer is your best guy, and really because what you're using the closer for, I don't think the point of the closer is to minimize damage. I mean, I think the point of the closer is that when you're up one, so like let's say okay, let's say the same situation. Let's say you use your closer in the fifth inning and you save the game, whatever. You end up in the ninth inning, and now instead of being down 3 or whatever, you're up by 1, and now you have to throw out that same horrible guy that you would have pitched in the fourth and the ninth. He gives up the game, and you lose anyway.
But there's less pressure on him, right? Like
I don't know.
Put your best pitcher in the situation where they can affect the game the most.
There's less. For me, there's less pressure when we're about to like get blown out in the fourth inning than it is when we have a small lead in the ninth.
That doesn't make any sense. What do you like?
Okay. It's not supposed to make sense. This is human psychology we're talking about. We're not talking about. It's not like some guy. It's not like some baseball god is like magically like pressing on you and making you feel pressure in specific situations. This is human psychology. It doesn't make any sense. The point isn't that it makes sense, but I mean, there have been times in games where I've been standing in the infield up by 4 in the ninth inning, absolutely pissing myself because I don't want to screw up and like lead to the blown game. Whereas in the fifth inning, if the bases are loaded and it's a tie game, I don't care.
Keep in mind, that's why DHing is like the most fun thing in the world because you got your hits, you're chilling. Like I'm just sitting with the bullpen pitchers, like just like shooting it, talking up, like watching my teammates stress out about a 1-run lead. It's wonderful. But okay, so we can agree, disagree there. We might do a whole thing about that argument because I cannot remotely agree. But to keep moving forward, sleeveless jerseys and or shorts on the field.
Like in batting practice?
No, like uniforms.
Like the uniform.
Like the Reds had their sleeveless jerseys.
Okay, so sleeveless, like as in sleeveless with nothing underneath.
Like the vest jersey,
like
nothing
the vest
under
jersey.
The vest jersey, but no sleeves.
Yeah.
I think that's dumb because I don't think that this is meant to be like a stripping Las Vegas event, I mean, because that's really what it turns into, right? I mean, you have these like prime athletes in peak physical condition now wearing like, like they're at the beach. Like, I don't know.
So I have to ask, have you seen the White Sox shorts uniforms?
I have, and those were a disgrace to the sport.
They're beautiful. They're amazing. Because, baseball, okay, baseball players always they're like, they're not athletes. They're wearing button-up shirts. And, like the shorts jersey. Okay, I got to say, I like the shorts jerseys, I think, only because it was like a 2-week thing back in the 70s. I'd probably be a little mad, right?
The shorts jerseys were kind of funny. Like, I get it. But I mean, if I'm wearing shorts, I'm not playing as hard as I can. I'm not going to dive. I'm not going to slide. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. So as far as it's just not practical. I mean, it's funny. I mean, it's a joke. It's funny.
I think outfielders should be in shorts. I think mobility, right?
I mean, it's just not practical.
I think it'd be great if every position had a uniform best suited to their capabilities. Like pitchers had some padding, because Lord forbid they're just getting hit by balls all the time, right? Infielders were, I don't know, you know what I mean? Figure something out, Be kind of cool, specialized. I can't think of a sport that does that. Come to think of it,
I don't think that's realistic. Because I mean, eventually they all come into the dugout. Now they're all doing the same thing.
What else is a catcher if not a guy in a specialized uniform designed to protect him?
Well, but he's wearing the same uniform. He just has extra stuff that he wears on the outside.
Okay, that's fine.
Although it is part of the uniform essentially.
You're not going to go out as a
bubble
wrap
without.
Give the pitchers bubble wrap.
I don't think bubble wrap is going to be the most practical.
But the infielders in moon shoes. Give the outfielders stilts. Just make it.
Okay, just think about
stilts. You can't use stilts.
the atrocity of moon shoes that are also spikes.
On an unrelated note, I've actually been wondering. So I wonder. I'm sure there's a rule, but hypothetically, if there's a ball sky high in the outfield, should you be allowed to do the whole step on the boost up?
But on my shoulders.
I think you are allowed to. I don't think there's any rule against that.
Oh,
so
that
we're playing Mario Super Sluggers rules then, aren't we?
No, that's what I'm saying.
The bunny hop.
Okay, so why not, instead of having 3 outfielders, put them all on each other's shoulders, right, and have them up in center? Okay, if you got a guy who always pulls the ball, right, what good is are they gonna do, separately, right? Like if we can play the shift, which is actually our next hot take, but I'm just going to ignore that for a second. If you can play the shift, right? Why not have all your outfielders standing on each other's shoulders, making a wall, right? Making a little wall. If it's not against the rules, do it. Why not?
I mean, if the guy is literally always hitting it to the same spot, then I guess, but you're not very mobile. So
well, okay, yeah, but like okay, Yankee Stadium, short porch.
okay,
Right? Really short porch.
okay.
Everyone's always hitting home runs there. Have they never been like, you know what? Let's get like Judge and Stanton, stack them on top of each other, and just have them.
I mean, they could do it if they wanted to. I don't think there's any rule against it. I think it would be weird, but there's nothing that says that they can't do it.
I mean, okay, even if you give up 1,000 runs, right? Because you're missing 2 outfielders. The one time they catch home run,
make it worth it.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, the shift. Yes or no?
Hard no. My least favorite thing in baseball right now.
Is it not logical, though, on some level?
Okay, so basically, here's my main issue with it. So in like a regular season, I don't hate it that much because you're talking about guys that have tendencies, and in a huge sample size, like 162 games, they're going to play to those tendencies. So if the shift, if a guy hits into the shift, if it pulls the ball 50% of the time over the course of the season, he's going to hit the ball there about 50% of the time, whatever. And then the shift might be effective. My main issue with the shift comes in the playoffs. And I think that it's overused for players that are too talented to warrant that kind of treatment. And the best example that I can think of from this past season was Freddie Freeman. And they shifted on Freddie Freeman every single time that he came up to bat. But Freddie Freeman is a good hitter, a professional hitter, and with 2 strikes, he chokes up on the bat like 80% of the way. This guy is not pulling the ball with any authority with 2 strikes. And so, but they still play the shift. And then he hit the ball right where the shortstop would be standing probably 4 or 5 times over the course of the series. Because when you're just talking small sample sizes and talented hitters on playoff teams, they have a little bit more control over where they're swinging. Not every player.
Under the hypothetical assumption that dude was like good for 80% of the time, hitting to like the same 2 spots, do you shift in the postseason?
So yeah, I mean, the shift is not like my issue isn't that the shift exists. My problem is that I think that they use it for every single player, and I don't think that that's an effective
So you're not
strategy.
a ban the shift guy.
No, I mean, like it was always Adrian Gonzalez was always a shift guy because all he ever did was pull. David Ortiz was the same way because all he ever did was pull, and those were guys that were just paid to do that. So if they're gonna do it every time, which is what they did, then fine, go ahead and do it. But when you're doing it, guys 1 through 9, and you're getting consistently beat, then it drives me crazy. And then the other thing about it is from the offensive side, it also drives me crazy because it shows you how overly concerned the league is with players hitting home runs rather than winning games. Because I watched 2017 Cody Bellinger, who was great when he came up, but then the league figured him out, and he gets to the playoffs. He can't hit. They shift on him every time. And Cody Bellinger, 2017 Cody Bellinger, one of the fastest guys in the league, refused to put a bunt down ever. And if he just did it like 2 or 3 times,
they had to stop shifting.
He makes it to first base. They have to stop shifting. He opens up that hole and he hits a lot better, but they won't do it. And so we incentivize these teams to start shifting on players like Kike Hernandez, who spray the ball all around the field, and then dumb stuff happens, especially when as a Dodger fan, I'm biased, but it feels like every single time that something bad happens, we're the ones who are on defense. And, I do my playoff rants every year. And the shift probably
I was a follower of those playoff rants. I lived
the shift
those.
probably constituted 60% of all aneurysms that I had in the month of October. So because it just doesn't make any sense to me, And
I'm
the
with
worst
you.
one, here's where I say ban the shift. If there's a runner on first base and you shift, you should be kicked out of the league. You should never be allowed back in baseball for the rest of your life, and you should be killed. They should put you in the guillotine. Your head should be chopped off, and you should never be allowed to breathe on Earth ever again. It is embarrassing. It is gross.
As much as we should get into that, we need some time for this last one.
Okay, next time maybe, but it is a gross disgrace to the game of baseball, and you should be sent to Mars. You should not be allowed back on Earth for the rest of your life. I'm serious. This is terrible.
Roids in the Hall of Fame.
Royd's in the Hall of Fame, depending on the era, but generally, I think so.
Because let's be honest, there is not an era in baseball history where people weren't roiding. I don't care what anyone. I mean, okay, Doc Ellis was talking about how dudes were always on, greenies, right, amphetamines, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, and them were doing like moose, testosterone or something, or some equally. Like, it doesn't matter if it's effective, but guys have been trying, right? Like, dudes have been trying to do like performance enhancing. It's not the 90s fault that it worked. Right.
I mean, and the reality of it is, is that it wasn't like Mark McGwire or Barry Bonds were the only guys that were doing that type of stuff, right? I mean, they were competing against other roided up guys, and they were the best of their time against roided up guys. And I mean, when you talk about records, I think that gets into a different conversation. But when you're talking about being allowed in the Hall of Fame, I don't see why a guy that hit 70 home runs in a season at the same time that Sammy Sosa was hitting 68 and other people were hitting, however many, I don't see why they shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. But
I think too is like, again, we're kind of pretending like guys aren't juicing anymore, right?
Well, they definitely are. It's just not in the traditional sense.
Yeah. I believe Hank Aaron when he says he didn't juice. I choose to. I am willingly putting on blinders because he might have been, right? And like Ricky Henderson could have been juicing. I don't know. Right. But, and for one, I think we don't even have we don't have proof, so to speak, that Barry Bonds was juicing. Right. Like David Ortiz guaranteed makes the Hall of Fame first ballot. Right. I will put any amount of money on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he will.
Dude was on roids. Right. I don't care. But why are we pretending that Barry Bonds are despicable? Now, if they were making like the character clause argument or whatever, because I don't know, as far as I'm aware, there was some domestic abuse things. I don't know enough about them to.
Well, the reason that Barry Bonds got it so bad was because he had that issue, but then the media hated him.
He was a jerk.
And it was his fault that the media hated him, and so they don't want him to win. And so basically, what happened was that baseball decided that they wanted to clean up their image because in the 90s, what really happened in the 90s wasn't that people were roiding. It was that
baseball was dying.
It was that people started to pay attention, and then people didn't want to watch the game anymore. And so baseball decided, we have to act like we're clean. We have to clean up our image. And so they took advantage of people like Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa and Barry Bonds in order to say, look, we're cleaning up our act. I think they should still be in the Hall of Fame, but I don't think Barry Bonds should be regarded as the all-time home run king. I think Hank Aaron.
To be fair, you still also have to make contact. And so I kind of get it. I'm not saying, I'm saying put an asterisk there, but keep the number.
I mean, I'm not saying get rid of the number. I mean, what he accomplished was what he accomplished. It's just that, you have to make contact, but the question is how many of those home runs end up being doubles if he doesn't have the extra strength, right? That's generally the question that you have to ask. I mean, because there was a time when he shattered his bat and hit a home run out at the old Marlins Park or whatever it was called. And then, that ball is not going out if he's not roided. And
so here's my one thing is in 20 years, when science has progressed even further, then we have this 17-year-old kid, big muscles, juice neck, right? Who's just, 6'10", 345 pounds, all muscle, right? And then he's just bunting the ball for a home run. Like, are we going to pretend like that's the same as Babe Ruth? It was probably just doing some he was eating hot dogs and chain smoking on the bench. Like, say what you want about Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth was actively working against himself.
Yeah, right.
So, and I think that's really where you start talking about. That's really my main thing about why Barry Bonds shouldn't be the home run king. Because even if Hank Aaron was juicing, let's say, the guy played from the 50s to the 70s. I mean, what did they know about anything? Yep. People used to think that whiskey and cocaine were cures for tuberculosis. Like, this isn't well,
not in the 50s, but
not in the 50s, but I'm saying that was the middle part. That was the middle zone between whiskey and cocaine is good for you. And Barry Bonds can inject this stuff into his body to make him 400 times his size in one off season. So there may not have been, even if he was juicing, it probably wasn't the same quality of stuff as Barry Bonds had access to.
I actually think Barry Bonds' home run record is way more impressive than Ruth's, because I'm gonna be honest, Ruth was playing against a 70 mile per hour fastball, right? And I will dunk on Babe Ruth anytime I get the opportunity. Because I think it's ridiculous, right? That we pretend this dude. You know what? Okay, I can't go off on this rant.
I think you dunk on him every episode because
You know what?
I think that, like last time you're like, "Ooh, Ghost of Baseball Past is gonna come haunt me because I dunk on." Ooh, you should be nicer to Babe Ruth, and you're like, "Nah, it's Babe Ruth."
It's ridiculous to me. But okay, this one just occurred to me, right? And I know the answer, but I'm just gonna say it. Metal bats, yes or no?
No, in the major leagues? In the major leagues? Hell no.
Okay, hear me out.
That would be a recipe for death. People would die. People would die.
Wait, hear me out. Hear me out. Move back the pitcher's mound.
No.
Put netting down the
No.
lines. Move
No.
back the infield and the outfield.
Are you
I
suggesting batting practice? Is that what
No.
baseball is
Look,
going to become
I
with
just
metal
want
bats?
to see. Okay, I want to see who's that guy Aristides Aquino, right? The dude who for like 1 week or whatever was hitting the ball 9,000 feet. Can you imagine giving that kid a metal bat? Right? Like the peanut guy, get your peanuts, boom, gone.
If you want to see what he can do, if you want to see what he can do with a metal bat, then make the home run derby metal bat.
Yes,
I don't care.
See?
In the season,
Hold
people
on,
would
hold on.
die. People
Can
would
you
die.
imagine? Can you imagine metal bats and turf fields together?
That would be a disaster. Somebody would definitely
People
die.
would actually die.
I mean, I think the real debate is whether you should even let Division I college players swing metal bats. Frankly, I mean these are professional caliber players, a lot of them, and like people like I'm just. But in the
You have to admit, part of you wants to see it a little bit. Be honest.
would I want to see somebody hit a ball 790 feet with a Beezer bat? Yes, I would love it. But would it make sense?
Like
No way.
in my closet, I have a banned Louisville Slugger bat, right? It was banned because for some reason the balls go harder off that bat, right?
Is it the blue one?
What is safe? I don't know. I was playing a game, right? And I was playing with the older kids, whatever. I had myself a nice little double. I was, feeling it. And the ump was like, "Hey, you can't use that bat." And I was like, "This is my bat." He was like, "I don't care." It had like a huge sweet spot, right? It was like from the 70s or something. I don't know. Point is, right?
So it was a Beezer bat. Yeah.
No, well, maybe, but I want to give that to Giancarlo Stanton, right?
I mean, I would love to see.
I just want to see.
I would love to see. I mean, it would be amazing to see that, but that would literally lead to many deaths.
Okay,
Like,
but
you'd have to start giving every player on the field like bulletproof protection.
fine, Kevlar. I don't care. I want to see
Kevlar
it.
body armor.
And now you have freaking guys walking around like this.
Yeah,
like,
I want to see Giancarlo Stanton in a live game hit the ball like into someone's house in one of the surrounding neighborhoods, right? I don't think that's too much of an ask,
honestly, I think Giancarlo Stanton could probably do that with a wood bat.
Oh my
honestly.
God, yeah, no, dude is like
He's
scary.
a monster.
He did it at Dodger
But
Stadium.
we're gonna pretend that he's not having some supplements and he's having a healthy and balanced breakfast every day. It's like
That dude eats Raisin Bran with 2 scoops of
we're
raisins.
like way over time. I don't care. You know that Jason Dominguez kid, right? The Yankees prospect. He's like 17. He's like 6'3", 290. I'm sure he's not, but he's buff. Right?
But
17.
Is he a foreign player? Where is he? Is he from the
Like Dominican Republic, I think.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
they definitely are writing those kids up from the time they're like 8.
And you know
in
what?
the
I don't
Dominican
care.
Republic.
That's fine.
I don't care either.
I want to see, but like, let's not pretend, right, that these guys are just natty, right? It's not like no, there's not some kid who he ate, every day he would have some plantains and he'd have like a strong breakfast and he'd work out all day. Then magically the kid is bigger than a D3 lineman.
I just
right?
Googled him. He's massive.
He's huge.
He's an absolute unit.
He's huge. Jasson Dominguez. We'll put up a picture right here for whoever's watching this because he's like 17. That's nutty. There is no 17-year-old child.
Yeah, that's a big guy.
That's
an
a
adult-
big
That's an
kid.
adult man. That is
So
an
like
adult
that
man.
kid walks into a club, no ID, nothing. Like
They don't even card him. They just look. Oh yeah, you're good to go, man.
When I see
You look
when
up at him.
I Google people like this and I see their birthday, it makes me feel so bad about myself. I was born in 2000. This kid was born in 2003, and
Yeah.
he's 40 pounds heavier than me, and he's in the New York Yankees minor league system.
yeah. The
Meanwhile,
pro
I'm
tip,
trying to
don't
figure
look
out-
at it. Don't look at it.
I just
it's like, okay, I'm a big boxing fan, right? I mention this like every time it comes up, but it doesn't matter. So you can go like in like my favorite boxer went pro in Mexico at like the age of 15, was like knocking out grown men, right? Like I was doing algebra, right? And like mustering up the courage to, I don't know, like ask Becky to the dance or something equally stupid, right? Well, this kid just walking out there just like, blowing through grown men making thousands of dollars. It's like, you can't compare yourself to, there's always gonna be some guy, right? Some dude who's just like some physical freak. And like Puig, right? Like, how would you feel if you're like, working at independent ball and you're doing your best and you're working out every day, eating a actual balanced breakfast every morning. Then you see this guy from Cuba come up, just shredded, completely shredded. He just walks off the boat. He's completely built, demolishes the high school leagues, gets up to the Dodgers, hits like 3 grand slams in the first week, right? Like some guys are just built like that. You can't compare
I will
yourself.
say that I didn't really realize how big Puig was, like how shredded he was, until I saw him in the red sleeveless jerseys, and then I was like, oh my god, he is ripped.
Yeah, give Puig the sleeveless jerseys and the shorts, and then they'll never say baseball players aren't athletic again, right? They'll never say it. They'll be like, baseball players aren't. Whoa, like never
Baseball
again.
Players oh my. That is.
Anyway, we got to cut it here. Thank you, Jacob. It's been great.
Thank you for having me.
We'd love to have you anytime in the future.
Yes, for sure. It's been fun.